All right, it is 5 p.m. We are going to go ahead and get started. Again, thank you for joining us. We're excited to have you here tonight. Tonight is College Apps 101, as we like to call it, demystifying the college application process. Before we jump into this, just some kind of house rules to give you some information. You are welcome to use the Q&A function in the Zoom webinar. If you type a question in that Q&A section, one of the counselors who isn't presenting will respond back to it. We also may choose to answer that question live if we feel it pertains to everybody. That's something we will do as well. But please go ahead and leave questions into that Q&A section, and we'll respond to them as we go through this. In addition, we are recording tonight's webinar, and that gives us the opportunity to post this on our website so that you can review this at a later time. And for those people who might be missing tonight, they can also review that as well. So we're going to start off introducing the guidance team. My name is Jeremy Trosh. I'm one of the counselors here at Claremont High School, and I have the part of the alpha that's A through CHOI. So the first part of the alpha is with me. Ms. Vogel is our counselor for CHOJ through GOM. Ms. Vogel is on maternity leave at the moment, and so for the month of September, other counselors will pick up on her caseload. And so if your student has a question for this month, all of us are going to help all of the students. So at any time they can come up and ask any one of the counselors, and we'll help them with whatever issues they might have. Mrs. Ceccarelli is joining us. She was our student support counselor, and now she's moved into the Alpha GON through LIN. Miss Mitchell has actually moved down to the middle school. So if you had Miss Mitchell, you now have, for the most part, Mrs. Ceccarelli. Miss Lori Cizik, she has the Alpha LIO through PARK. She's saying hi to all of you. And then Mr. Anderson, he's not with us tonight. He's actually at another meeting at the moment, but he'll have the Alpha PARL through SMI. And then rounding out the alphabet and my partner in tonight's presentation is Miss Paula Hebert, SMJ through Z. We also have somebody new joining us, and that's Evelyn Diaz. She is our new support counselor. She'll be working with students with 504s, IEPs, and other special characteristics. 504s, homeless youth. Sorry, I said IEPs, not IEPs. But she'll be working with students who need some additional support. Let's go ahead and jump to the next slide. And let's talk about some things that are important that are coming up. And we're going to start out with Financial Aid Night. So Financial Aid Night is not yet scheduled. We are waiting to hear back from our presenter on what night's going to work from them. But that'll be coming up typically in November. This is a really good opportunity to learn more about the financial aid options that are available to students and that students have access to through things like the FAFSA, the Cal Grant, and other opportunities for financial aid. That date we will advertise both on the CHS website, and you'll get information directly from us through Schoollinks, through Remind, through Canvas messaging, through emails. We'll send that information out in broad. College Fair is coming up on October 17th. This is in the West Gym from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. We are fortunate to be part of the circuit for college fairs, and so we get a lot of opportunities for our students to meet with college reps. Our college fair is actually one of the smaller. And when I mean smaller, I don't mean numbers of representatives. I mean student attendance. And so that gives our students an opportunity to meet one-on-one with those college reps instead of in large groups. Some additional things that are coming up to help students with the college apps are the college application labs. So this will start on October 1st. It'll be every Tuesday and Thursday. The Claremont High School counseling team will be in the library during lunchtime. And we will sit down one-on-one and work with students on their college applications. I tell this whenever I go to classrooms. I have a chance to do these applications with students thousands of times. But for most, if not all of our students, this is the first time they're doing applications. And so we want to provide as much support as possible through this entire process. And that's a great time for students to get one-on-one help on those college applications. Another big important thing that students want to take advantage of are the college representative visits. And those happen virtually and in person at Claremont High School. They are posted in the daily bulletin, and I'll show you an example of that a little bit later in this presentation. Let's go to the next slide. Perfect. Some additional things coming up are going to be credit checks. Now, traditionally, we do these through social science classes. And so if you are in a government, an economics, an IB history, an AP Econ, AP Government class, we will meet with you through that social science class. However, I know there's a lot of our students who took those classes over the summer. And so if you took those classes over the summer or for some other reason do not have a social science class in first semester, your counselor will call you out sometime in the next 2 weeks to go over your credit check, but also to talk about your college admissions planning and your plans for life after high school. Next thing down here is going to be school links training. We visited classrooms today, English classrooms today, to start that process. We have a few more English classes we need to visit. And then for those students who do not have an English class this semester, which is quite a few, we will be doing a lunchtime session on Tuesday, September 10th in room 105. That session will also be recorded. So for some reason you still can't make that session, we will have that posted on the CHS website, usually that evening. All right, this is the Claremont High School website, the counseling department. So when you log on to the Claremont High School website, if you click on the link that says counseling and guidance, this is the website you're going to go to. You'll notice in there there's an NCAA Night 2024. That was our last webinar, and it's a great opportunity to learn more about how you get recruited and more about college athletics. This is exactly where tonight's presentation will be posted once it's up on YouTube. And this is where that school links training will also be posted. Just to the right of that are all the really important links. Some ones that I want to highlight. The first one I want to highlight is going to be School Links. School Links is the college application management system that we use to help our students apply for colleges. We did training on that today, and we will continue to do training on it over the next week. It's really an important piece that students need to become familiar with and need to be able to work on. You're also going to see links to various college applications, including the Cal State app, the UC app, Common App. It's all right here. And we really try to make this website user-friendly and provide a wealth of information. So it's kind of a one-stop for you to get all the information you need about colleges. Last thing I want to highlight on this particular page is at the bottom, and that is the teacher letter recommendation materials and the counselor letter recommendation materials. Those two links provide students the information they need to complete the counselor questionnaire and the teacher questionnaire. We'll talk about that a little bit later and why that's important, but that's where you can find those links. This is a copy of the student bulletin, the daily bulletin that does come out. If you scroll down a little bit, you're going to see this part here, which includes the college admission visits. And so we want to make sure you're aware of what's coming up. And you can see we already have a bunch of those scheduled. These college admission visits, typically it's about anywhere between 5 and 10 students at a time, and they get to sit down with one of these college reps. That meeting, it's a chance for you to ask questions, get answers to things that you're wondering about, get information on the best strategies to apply. There's lots of different things that happen in those meetings that really provide our students with a wealth of information and to really help them get prepared for the college apps. Here we go. So let's talk about getting started. We did talk with students about this earlier today, but it's really important that students create an email account for their college applications. Now, you can use your student account through Claremont Unified School District. However, the vast majority of our students do not check that email on a regular basis. Students should be checking that email daily. So if they're not going to check their CUSD email account, they need to create another email or use one that they already have that they're checking every day. Okay? They should be using the same email on all of their college applications. You really do not want to have some emails going to your Claremont account, some emails going to a Gmail account, some emails going to your Apple account. You want them all going to one account so that you can keep track of that. Typically speaking, if a college sends you an email requesting something of you, you have a very short limited period of time to return that email. And if you don't return that email within that period of time, your application can actually be rejected just based on that. It's really important we're checking our emails on a regular basis. Parents, I would recommend setting up a separate college email account and having your kids give you access to it. That's my recommendation. Students should be logging on to School Links twice a week. And again, we just kind of presented on this today. We're going to have more information coming out on that over the next week. But that's going to be a really important piece that your students need to be looking at and working on a regular basis. Okay. You will get a copy of your unofficial transcript when you meet with your counselor. Students, if you're on this webinar right now, you need to make sure you hold on to that transcript. You're going to be using that transcript when you're entering your classes and your grades into the UC app, into the Cal State app, and any other college application that requires you to self-enter grades. The last thing on here I want to stress is that we need to be organized. Talked with students earlier today, and hopefully they understood that when you are unorganized and you miss deadlines, you are throwing away that college opportunity. Most of these schools, if you miss a deadline, will not accept late submissions. So you need to make sure you're staying organized. Students should be working right now on finding a balanced final list. What does that mean to be balanced? Well, we're taking a look at their grade point average, their SAT scores, their ACT scores, if they need them or if they've done that. We're taking a look at the school size, the athletics, distance, cost, all this stuff goes into this idea of a final list and being a good fit. When we're talking about balance, we want students to be realistic. We want students applying to schools that are safety schools, schools where they are above the average, schools where they're right in the middle of that range. So we look at the average GPA, and your student should be in the right range. We call those to be target schools or right fit schools. And then schools where you are below the average. You do want to add a safety school or two in, or sorry, excuse me. You do want to add a reach school or two into that list. Be sure to list all colleges in school links, public, private, and community colleges. We want to know about all the schools you're applying to. School links is how we send transcripts. And so if you don't have that listed, we can't send transcripts and other documents to those colleges. So briefly, I want to talk about the UC system and applications within the UC. So you are completing an online application for the UC system. That application is already open. It opened August 1st. And you can start submitting that application on October 1st. Now, the deadline to submit the UC application is December 2nd. This is different than previous years. They bumped it back a couple of days because typically that is November 30th. I'm going to say this about the Cal State app in a second as well. And I'm almost positive Ms. Aber is going to reiterate this when she talks about Common App and other schools. With the deadlines, do not wait until the end. Okay, the UC app, the Cal State app, and specifically the Cal State app, at the end of that cycle, in that last week before the deadline, those applications tend to crash, which makes it difficult for students to submit. And those submissions can be delayed. And if they're delayed too long, for example, if you miss the December 2nd deadline, you will not be accepted, regardless of whether your late submission was a result of a crash in the system or not. So some application tips for the UC, and you're going to see this to be similar on most of these applications. Number one, be honest and thorough. You want to make sure you're telling the truth about what you've done, how many hours you spent in volunteer activities, but also include everything. Include all the hours that you spent volunteering at the hospital and other volunteer opportunities. You want to include all of your A through G classes, including your dual enrollment classes. Any leadership activities you're going to want to highlight, especially with the UC application and UC schools. They like to see students who have taken on leadership roles in high school. You want to provide accurate information regarding your parental income. So as part of the UC app, you will be asked to provide income from parents, and that is used for a couple of different things. But one of the important things that they use it for is determining your fee waiver. Unlike the Common App schools, the fee waivers for the UCs and the Cal States are determined within the application itself, and so that needs to be accurate. You want to make sure you're using a word processing program when you do your personal insight questions, your PIQs. Okay, you're going to be asked to write some short essays, and you could, in theory, write them directly in the application. We do not recommend that. You're not going to have typically a spell check or grammar check, and you want other people to be reading over your responses to those personal insight questions or essays. I would highly recommend reviewing the tutorial on the UC personal insight questions. We actually have a QR code on the cheat sheet that we gave our students today that has a link to those tutorials. If you did not get a cheat sheet today, drop by the office. We've got hundreds of them ready for you guys to pick up. Okay. The last thing I want to make sure you know is that you need to save your work every 30 minutes. You will not be prompted to do this. You need to make sure you are saving it. At 30 minutes, it will time you out. And when it times you out, any work that you were doing that you haven't saved will be deleted. So you want to make sure that you are saving your work on a regular basis. Perfect. Thank you. Okay. For the Cal State application, it is also completed online. This application opens October 1st, and you can start submitting it between October 1st and December 2nd. Again, there's a change in that deadline, a little bit more time for your students. Okay. You should be checking your CSU portals often. This is true for all colleges. Most of these colleges will offer students, once they've applied, portals. These are ways to access information about your application on their website. You're going to want to be checking those on a regular basis because colleges will send your student information on those portals. Typically, it will also go to whatever email is attached to that portal. But I would recommend checking into those portals at least twice a week once you have applied. All right, some CSU application tips. These should look familiar. Be honest and thorough. Include all your A through G classes, including your dual enrollment classes. Accurate information regarding parental income, like the UC app. They will determine any kind of, they will determine any kind of fee waivers based upon the reported parental income. Again, make sure you're saving every 30 minutes. Research campus-specific requirements. And make sure your A through G matching is accurate. This is an important one. And this is one that I would highly recommend students check in with counselors to ensure their A through G matching is accurate. What we have found is, particularly with the G elective, this does create a problem with some students' applications and makes them seem like they don't qualify for A through G when they really do. So this is a situation, students, before you hit submit, check in with a counselor, specifically on the Cal State app, regarding A through G matching. Again, use the College App Labs to check your application. Go to the next slide. Perfect. EOP, Educational Opportunity Program. Okay, this is the program at the Cal States and the UCs, which provides additional assistance for students who come from a traditionally underrepresented student group. These additional assistance can be through mentoring, academic advising, additional financial assistance, counseling and advising. Students who are first generation or for low income or educationally disadvantaged backgrounds are encouraged to apply. We highly recommend, if you think you qualify for EOP, to consider applying. There are a lot of advantages to completing this application, and it really does not take a significant amount of your time. Next slide. I will hand this off to Miss Hebert.
All right. So if students are interested in going to a public university outside of California, sometimes looking at the tuition for those outside public colleges and universities can really kind of shock the system. So you want to know about the Western Undergraduate Exchange, and that is a collection of 14 Western states who have agreed to provide reciprocal tuition to other Western state residents to attend school a little bit outside their geographic region. And you can see here below that there are many of the states that are offering the WUI option. Or could be schools that your student might be interested in attending. Over the years, we've had many California high school, Claremont High School students go out of state to places like Hawaii, Montana, and pay less or equal to a Cal State tuition, which is among the lowest tuition rates nationwide. So think about the Western Undergraduate Exchange as an option if you want to stay at a public university but pay California prices. If you're looking at private colleges, your students are looking at these ideas for the application type. And this is something we started the conversation on back in the spring, and we continued it today in the classroom. Students who are applying early decision, that's an application type. It's a binding decision where you apply to only one college under early decision. And if that early decision college admits you, you'll find out early. You apply early, typically November, and usually by mid-December, you have your early decision. Decision is rendered from the college. If the college admits you, you must withdraw your other applications and you attend. So early decision is a real commitment, and it's not for everybody. Early action is also an early action program, meaning that you apply early and you find out early if you have been admitted. However, you have up until May 1 to decide if you want to accept that early action school. That gives you more time to get more application decisions in, look at your financial aid options as well, and then make a decision again, usually by the May 1 decision date deadline. Many schools have regular decision. An example would be the UC and the Cal State system. They don't offer early action or early decision. They have a standard deadline this year, December 2nd for both institutions. And typically with regular decision, you find out in early spring about if you've been admitted or not, and you have until May 1 to look at your financial aid and make a commitment to the school that you'll attend in the fall. Schools that have rolling admissions would include those schools that you can apply on a regular basis and generally find out within 2 to 3 weeks if you have been admitted. We also want to remind students about the option for historically Black colleges and universities. And the HBCUs include both public and private colleges throughout the country. And if your student is interested in HBCUs, just be aware of the opportunity that this can afford students for their higher learning. There is also Hispanic serving institutions, and students may want to explore their options within this segment of the colleges, and many of the CSUs and UCs are becoming HSIs because of their total undergraduate populations that serve Hispanic students. The Common Application is something that a lot of you will be hearing a lot about. It's often referred to as the Common App. The Common Application was developed many years ago, and it is a single application platform that is accepted at over 1,000 colleges and universities, both in the US and abroad. The Common Application is free for students to use, and it helps to streamline the application process. The Common Application can serve students who are applying to 20 colleges or fewer, and it allows students to basically enter information one time, their self-reported academic history, create their other profile pieces that might be important for colleges to know. And the Common Application will also direct students if a specific college needs supplemental materials, a supplemental essay, etc. So the Common Application, very common. It's been a very well-used platform for many, many years. The Common Application does have an essay for students to complete. There is also a community disruption question in the additional information section in the Common App. The Common Application uses smart questions, so it'll bypass other questions depending on how the student completes the application. So it's intelligent design. And again, the supplements and additional essays may be required depending on the school and or the program or major that the student is applying to. The Coalition Application is more of a newcomer. It's been around for about 8 years. The Coalition Application is accepted by over 150 colleges in the US. It has a similar feel to the Common Application, but SchoolLinks integrates with the Common Application. The Coalition Application does not integrate with the Coalition app. Therefore, if your students choose to use the Coalition Application, they need to create a Coalition Application account, and that is how they can submit their application. And they need to notify the counselor if they're using the Coalition app in SchoolLinks, and we showed them that today, and we'll continue to share that so that we can support their Coalition Application through a different means. So this is why using SchoolLinks to report it is so important. Many colleges have their own institutional applications. They do not use Common App. They do not use Coalition App. An example would be Georgetown and MIT, and even locally, APU has their own institutional application. And you can either download the application or apply through their institutional apps when needed. One big question for a lot of students are letters of recommendation. And letters of recommendation are an important factor in the college application process and for students who are going to be really working diligently on scholarships this year. Private colleges will require letters of recommendation. The UCs and the Cal States do not. So please keep that in mind. Who writes letters of recommendation? Well, that would include counselors, teachers, community members, and clergy. And we want to tell you more about letters because they matter so much. For students who need a counselor recommendation letter, they will see that evident in school links and when looking through the application requirements through different means as well. But school links will indicate if, for example, Pomona College does need counselor letters, it does need 2 teacher recommendation letters. The counselor questionnaire is found in the to-do list in School Links, which is like the opening page of School Links, as well as the CHS website, which we showed you near the beginning of the presentation. The counselor questionnaire is on a Google form, and this counselor questionnaire has been shared with students back in January, and the counselor questionnaire is due September 23rd to be submitted to counselors, and there are specific instructions on how to submit it via Google Drive. The kids have all this information. If students need a teacher recommendation letter, we've been working with our seniors since last spring, reminding them to think about and ask a junior year teacher last spring to write on their behalf this fall. Hopefully your students have done that. Download the teacher questionnaire from either the to-do list in School Links or the CHS website, and then email the completed questionnaire to the teachers who have agreed to write on your behalf no later than September 23rd. That is the deadline for teachers and counselor recommendation letters. For students who are applying to private colleges, again, being accurate in self-reporting college preparatory classes is very important. Be so aware of deadlines, both for application as well as deadlines for financial aid. Be aware of requirements. Maybe you have a special audition or you have a portfolio to submit. So be aware of those kinds of deadlines. Prepare the letter of recommendation materials by the deadlines or earlier. We always welcome earlier. Spend quality time working on the teacher and counselor questionnaire, and be aware of campus and major specific requirements. And again, you're emailing the, if we ask that by the September 23rd deadline that your school links list is complete and accurate. But we do understand that if you should discover a school a few weeks afterwards and you wish to apply, we ask that students add that new college in School Links and email the counselors and teachers to ensure that all the parties involved in supporting your student's application know about the additional schools, and it will be there for us when we are ready to submit. Again, listing all colleges that you're applying to, public, private, community colleges, is very essential in your senior year. Demonstrated interest as you're wrapping up your final list for your colleges. Just be aware that demonstrated interest can play a factor for some students. It's mostly commonly used in more small private colleges that have the resources to track contacts, but you can show demonstrated interest by contacting the admissions office, asking for materials, submitting maybe an SAT or an ACT score if the school is test optional, taking a virtual tour, or if you're able to visit the campus in person, contacting the admissions office to coordinate that on-campus visit. Students who are applying to private colleges and universities, be aware of the essays that are required. Again, the essay should be student written, expressing this applicant or student voice, writing from the student perspective. If your college or university recommends an interview, we definitely encourage you to follow up on that. Learn a little bit more about the school so you have some good questions to ask that interviewer. Let that personality of yours shine. Be aware sometimes that the interviews are conducted by admissions reps and sometimes by alumni who really want to share their enthusiasm for their school, their college, with potential candidates for admission. I mentioned earlier the auditions and portfolios. Just keeping good records of deadlines will help you so much this fall. There are fees to apply to college. The CSU charges $70 per campus for each application. The UC system charges $80 per campus. When you are working on the UC and CSU application, it will ask questions about family size and income. That information is both for potential scholarships, if admitted, but also to establish your fee waiver eligibility. So please, please be careful when putting in those numbers, because they only have one opportunity to get that information, the CSU and the UC. If you are using the Common App or Coalition app, students have been shown how to ask for fee waivers in that platform, and School Links will work with counselors to get that fee waiver approved digitally. And EOP, we mentioned earlier, the EOP application is embedded in UC and the CSU application. We definitely encourage you to consider the EOP program if you're among the eligible groups. It can be an asset for admission as well as improving your outcomes and on-time graduation once you're in college. Admission tests used to be our favorite subject, but the world really changed in the last 5 years with college admissions and admission testing. So the UC and the CSU system remain test-free. You do not need to take the SAT or ACT for the UC or the CSU. And roughly 75% of US colleges are test optional for the class of 2025. There has begun a slight pendulum swing back among highly selective colleges in the last year and a half to swing back to test requirements for admission testing. And some of the colleges that have swung the pendulum back would include places like Yale and MIT and Georgetown, and most recently Caltech. Your test scores are yours. If you still want to take the SAT or ACT this fall, you still can do so on the CHS website. There are links to sign up for the SAT and the ACT. There are still many test dates available this fall. Just a word on admission test scores. Those stay private. The admission test scores stay with the testing agency. Claremont High School does not show or express those scores on your high school transcript. Your high school transcript has only the classes you've taken in high school and the grades that you have earned in them. Speaking of transcripts, all seniors will get their transcript during their fall credit check. You do not need to submit initial transcripts for UC and CSU applications. The colleges will review your application based on those self-reported grades. For students who are applying to private colleges, the official transcripts will be sent by counselors with the counselor letter of recommendation. And counselors will also send the mid-year report showing the fall semester senior year grades. Out-of-state public colleges may need a transcript, and counselors will be sending those transcripts out. There is a transcript fee. $20 covers transcripts for the initial, mid-year, and final transcript for any number of colleges, whether it's one school or you're applying to 20 plus, the flat fee is $20. If you have taken a course at another school or college, be sure to have that institution send a transcript as well to the colleges that you're applying to. And if you have taken or are taking Citrus College dual enrollment classes, counselors will remind students how to send the Citrus transcript to the universities as well for matriculation. Senior grades matter. All admission decisions are conditional. You definitely want to keep the grades and rigor up in senior year, especially those students who are applying to selective and highly selective colleges. And unfortunately, we have seen over the years that campuses will rescind a college acceptance in the summer if senior grades plummet and no explanation is given to the campuses as to what caused that decline and that big change in academic performance. As I said earlier, if you will hear back from the colleges about your college application, if you apply early action, early decision, it usually renders a decision within about 4 to 6 weeks. But if you apply under regular deadlines, say January, early January, typically early March is the response time from the colleges with regular decision. We don't want to ever forget the community college opportunities that our students have. The state of California has a very strong community college system with open admissions policy. You do not need the SAT or ACT. California community colleges serve many students with the transfer opportunity to transfer to UC and CSU, sometimes with some priority transfer, as well as private four-year colleges, both in-state and out-of-state. Community colleges offer honors programs, and those honors programs boast the top professors, smaller classes, and enhanced transfer opportunities. Community colleges can also help athletes. So if you want to play sports in college, community colleges can still be your venue. Athletes receive priority registration, they get additional educational advisement and tutoring. And community colleges can also help individuals who are getting ready for a career. And locally, our community colleges, we're so lucky to have so many within a 20-mile radius. But if you're interested in nursing or firefighting or respiratory therapy, a community college can help you be job ready. And many of these careers, especially nursing, offer really excellent salaries at the end of the program. Many of the community colleges also offer free tuition, and that is true for students who attend Citrus College. After graduation, they are most eligible for the Promise program because Citrus is our community college partner. The community college application comes later. It comes in the spring. So if students are interested in attending a community college, they don't have to worry about the application cycle this fall, but they will be doing their college applications for community colleges in the spring. Just again, a reminder, the community colleges, their probably most frequent function is to provide transfer to the university. And the UC and the CSU system have very clear explanations about what it takes to transfer between community colleges, UCs, and Cal States. And the community college counselors have they will work with all the students to help them get to their next educational setting and goal. Generally speaking, to transfer to a four-year college to get that bachelor's requires 60 semester or 90 quarter units. Quick reminder, if you are interested in athletics and four-year colleges, know that the NC2A governs an eligibility for Division I and Division II sports in colleges. If you are still thinking about playing athletics in a four-year college, you need to register with the NC2A Eligibility Center. And there is a link on the CHS website under the counseling pages for the Eligibility Center. And you no longer need admission testing to register with the NC2A. But by doing so, you will be now able to receive official scholarship offers from schools for your athletic ability, as well as participate in official visits. So you can have more information and make a better decision. Financial aid is a big part of continuing your education after graduation. The FAFSA free application for federal student aid will roll out very limited October 1, but will be available by December 1st for all high school seniors. The CSS profile is a separate application form required by some colleges to help identify private institutional aid that students can access based on need. So some of the schools that you may be applying to, places like USC, places like Pomona College, they will ask for the FAFSA. They will also offer the CSS profile. And for many students, this can really help fill in that gap for how to pay for college through the profile form. The net price calculator is a tool available on every college website so that you can enter your own personal income data, family size, and get a very specific amount of what tuition and the cost of attendance would cost at a college X, Y, or Z. The net price calculator is a good way to see, will this college work for me financially? Scholarships and grants, we'll talk about more in this in the months ahead. We're all big advocates of FastWeb as a first stop for aggregating scholarship opportunities for students. Don't forget that financial aid covers not only scholarships and grants, but it also covers loans, not as popular, but also work study, the opportunity to work on campus to help defray your expenses. Claremont High School will upload the Cal Grant GPA verifications. That is a statewide requirement, and we do that in early October. And that helps students later on in financial aid cycles by having that Cal Grant GPA uploaded to Cal Grant. And Cal Grant is money for California high school students to stay in California in public or private campuses to help pay for college. So Cal Grant works only if you stay in California. We will have a financial aid night soon to be announced. Again, College Fair on October 17th. Don't forget the College App Labs we're hosting Tuesdays and Thursdays in the library at lunchtime. And we will also have that presentation next Tuesday at lunchtime in room 105 for students. And we're sharing all this information with your students. So how can you support? Talk about the college application process with your students. Talk about schools. Look at the pros and cons in their eyes. Talk about the costs. Talk about the essay prompts. What kind of speaks to them about the essay prompt? What do they want to respond to? Try to help them stay organized. Calendar next steps. Be aware of those deadlines. Talk openly about finances. Help them to complete the FAFSA, help them complete the profile. There's a parent and a student portion for both of these applications. And sign up for Remind, which is our tool to keep students and parents apprised of updates or changes that they need to be aware of. The goal is to reduce admissions anxiety, try and focus on the best fit for you, for your student, for your plans. Make sure seniors are making time for good meals, exercise, sleep, and having that balance. Try not to spend every conversation at dinner about their college applications, and try not to lock into one school. I know that sometimes it is hard to do that, but there are so many choices students have, and nothing is better than having lots of choices and finding that right spot for you and the next 4 to 5 years of your life. We don't recommend that you do the applications or the essays, but we do recommend that you help develop systems and remind about deadlines. And again, parents can help with the FAFSA. And there are 4 questions on the counselor questionnaire that we always like to have parents respond to, because it gives us who have worked with your students for multiple years another way to see them. Maybe they're like awesome siblings, or maybe they've overcome something that we didn't know as their counselors, but it gives them a different dimension and richness to who they are as people. Sign up for Remind. So send a text to 81010 and text this message at 6GG9KF9 to sign up for Remind. And that way you will stay in the Remind class reminders for the class of 2025. And we thank you for coming. I'll keep that up as we end this session. Are there any questions that we should be answering before we dismiss you for the 6 o'clock session?
Any additional questions for the Q&A? We'll give it maybe another minute or two before we end our presentation for the evening. Thank you. Has any student received college admissions before senior year? So I do know we have students, athletes in particular, who do commit before their senior year. I have had students who graduated a full year early. That's very rare. And so they would receive admissions before what would be their senior year. Generally speaking, though, you're going to apply in the senior year for colleges.
All said, Mr. Church, there are some schools that have a rolling admissions. So students, I've already had some students ask to send transcripts, and they typically get an answer back relatively quickly. So just know some students that are applying to schools that are rolling, that are already accepting applications, may get back a very early decision. That's one option too.
Yeah, so some schools will start their rolling admissions decisions all the way in early August, 1st of August. So there is that possibility as well. Okay. Is there a one-pager with significant dates available? Thank you. I'm glad you asked that question. Yes, we actually have we call it a cheat sheet, but it is a one-pager. And that one-pager is in the office. We have some edits we found specifically with the FAFSA dates that after we printed, we found out some new dates. So we actually have to change that just slightly. So not only will that be available on the CHS website shortly, but that's available in the office as well. Okay. Question, what exactly was the rolling admissions? So schools that tend to be less competitive will offer rolling admissions. And the idea behind this is when you apply, they will evaluate you immediately. They won't wait for a specific deadline to evaluate you. They'll evaluate you when your application is received, when your transfer received, and they'll give you an answer to your admissions request, typically within 2 weeks. And that just means that they just keep rolling it as they come in, they evaluate them. They don't wait to see the entire pool. They're looking at you as an individual and evaluating as you go. Again, that's typically for less competitive institutions. Any other questions? We have about 2 minutes before we absolutely have to log off to go to our next thing. Do students even know their interested major when they apply for college? So students are going to be asked to have a major when they apply. One of the majors they could pick is undecided. So they can apply without knowing what their major is. Colleges will consider that a major in evaluations, but they can go in undecided if they don't know what their major is going to be. Question, what is an A through G class? So A through G classes are classes that meet the A through G requirements for Cal State's and UC admissions. So A through G, it's a series of classes that students have to take in high school and pass in order to apply to a UC course or UC school. Generally speaking, meeting A through G requirements means you are college eligible for roughly 95% of colleges and universities nationwide. Okay. Is there disadvantages to be an undecided major? There absolutely are. At many schools, undecided majors are impacted, meaning they have more students applying with an undecided major than they have spots for. So it can be a disadvantage to students, yes. The other part is certain majors that are highly competitive. If you come in as an undecided major, this is specifically true in UC campuses, you may have a hard time getting into your desired major after you've started attending there. Let's see here. What should students do if they want to attend a college visit but have class? So there is a process that students can go through. There is a form to fill out in order to miss class. They want to check in with our career center sometime during passing period or lunch to get that form and have that filled out. And that is an excused absence from class. Okay. Let's see here. If kids apply to a neighbor state, do they automatically offer the in-state matching tuition? So generally speaking, if you're applying to an out-of-state school, you're paying out-of-state tuition, even if it's a neighboring state.
Right. It's the WUI agreement embedded within some institutions for some majors that can provide that reciprocal tuition. So just because ASU participates in WUI, it may not participate for all majors, for example.
I did just post the link to get to the WUI website where you can look up each college, each university, and by major as well. So I did post that link for you.
Perfect. What period is the Vassar visit or college visits on the counseling page? I actually don't know offhand what period the Vassar visit is.
It's viewable on the Daily Bulletin. If you go to the Daily Bulletin, which is on the CHS website, you'll see it.
Yeah, because those change so quickly, they are not on the counseling page, but they are available on the bulletin, and the bulletin is posted on the CHS website. Okay, is there a course pathway in? Oh, we got to go. Sorry. This will be the last question. We as counselors have to run to another meeting, so I apologize. But is there a course pathway in CHS for students interested in engineering majors? Absolutely. So we have our ROP program for introduction to engineering, and we have a pretty deep physics courses and calculus courses that can kind of help support student in pushing towards that. And I would recommend having your student talk with a counselor specifically about an engineering major down the road. Okay. Thank you all for joining us. We do have to run. We have to be down at the gym in about 5 minutes. So we appreciate you joining us tonight. Have a wonderful evening. We hope to see you tonight at Back to School Night. Bye, everybody.